Thank you very much for having us. So my name is Peter. With me is Jan.
Hi.
We are honored to present you today how our journey towards a composable architecture looked like. So we named it Ship It again and again. It was not only last year 3 go live, it was also a platform migration over the last almost 10 years. And we will walk you through today what we have learned across the journey. Quick question, and your answer will define the first 10 slides. Who knows asambeauty? Lucky you, we skipped the first 10 slides. No, joking, we will still walk through some of the company presentation slides because it's important to know where we origin from, because that also led to some of the decisions we have taken in that project. First of all, started in 1963, Ingrid and Erich Asam founded the Asam Cosmetics company. From the very beginning, expertise in ingredients and the producement of our own products was core of our identity. We develop and produce always our products on our own. In 1983, we also built up a facility to extract ingredients from grapes and gained an OPC, which is still in products of our side. Furthermore, that was too fast. Furthermore, in 2002, Markus Asam, their son, and his wife Miriam Asam, they launched M. Asam Vino Gold, which is a skincare line, which is also based on ingredients from grapes. By that, we started the first sales channel. It was the TV sales channel. It was German teleshopping. Further on, we grew over the next years also our production area. So we increased our production area in Germany by more than 10 square meters. We had 2016 our launch of the first online shop, so it's 10th year's anniversary this year. And in 2018, we entered the retail business. In 2025, that was last year, by coincidence, we not only re-platformed the entire architecture, we also kind of rebranded the entire identity. New logo, new colors, new design, new everything. Nowadays, we are multi-channel. We are selling our products via our route, TV sales. We are selling our products in retail, and we are selling our products in travel retail. Some of you who came with a flight might have seen us in the brochure on deck. And last but not least, e-commerce is, of course, an important channel for us. Let's take a look how we gained there. Our journey started a bit earlier than 2016. Originally, we had an ERP system. It was our base system. Everything was stored there. Financial data, product data, all the information we needed in order to sell product was stored there. We had our sales channel, TV sales, where we brought our product and our expertise about our ingredients and our products, which we develop in-house, were sold. And we thought about what we're doing with the products which we are not selling via TV. So is there any other opportunity? So we thought, let's start a side project, call it online shop. It was literally an experiment. We didn't aim for anything except we wanted to try it out. But the side project grew literally a bit faster than expected. So starting with the side project, we had Magento 1 introduced as a commerce platform. We built up everything on our EP data. So there was plain text, ingredients, prices, and so on. That was not really valuable for having structured data on a website at that day. So as our customers from TV were used to gain our expertise from our products and to learn what kind of benefits our products can bring to them, we enriched the product data in the ERP system with HTML markup. I don't want to say that loud, but we have done that because we didn't want to involve that much more people in that process because it was still an experiment. So that fields were called blobs. So we wrote HTML in there. It was not an IDE, it was not formatted, there was no color coding, no nothing. It was plain HTML. The e-commerce system grew, the business grew, and every single front-end issue impacted that. And you can imagine, if you copy and paste from Word content, which you wrote, which was nice, and you added that into a single rich text field, you have not applied any formatting. Word will make their magic tricks, and you have a lot of formatting in, and everything is broken. So the PDP immediately just left the building. So we had to change something. Unfortunately, luckily, Magento 1 by that day went out of life. So we thought, let's upgrade Magento and rebrush the design to make it hip and cool. Yeah. Well, just the design we have done. So on the left side, you see Magento 1. On the right side, you see Magento 2. You spot some difference, but there was not that much. So we just updated the design. But actually, we quickly realized the real challenge was not the design. It was actually that the e-commerce growth required a much more scalable system. Content became much more increasingly important for our editors, and the risk of constantly breaking the pages was just too high. So we had to build up a system where content was able to produce content and focus on the content and not just make sure that nothing breaks. So it quickly fast evolved out of this just the design stage. We, as a young development team, we were, I think, 3 or 4 people at that time. We thought, yeah, let us cook. We have an idea and we want to aim on the next architecture level. We first upgraded Magento. But we wanted to support the business growth from a technical side as well. So we introduced a new system landscape. We introduced a headless frontend, including with a middleware layer, which aggregated data from several systems. I will reveal them in a second. This framework between the client, the web client, and the layer was a React framework for the client, and there was a Node.js GraphQL interface on the middleware. It was in 2016, 2017, 2015, 2016. So, you know, GraphQL wasn't much in the business there. So it was also coming newly on the market or got more and more adapted on. So we built it up on that. Then we built up a new content system. So it was important for us to support our content editors to have full focus on the product education. So to really increase the customer experience by getting better text, better content, and not longer HTML writing in a notepad, whatever. Then we empowered the team by that to focus on the content. And we stepped then first in this thinking of composable mindset. In 2023, we actually used all that architecture which we have built up. We have the GraphQL interface, which accelerated the data from Magento and also from Contentful we used, and send it to the client. So then we also built up mobile applications. That was at the very beginning of the project also a target for us. We want to make it easier for us to grow further sales channels. And in 2023, we launched our mobile app on Android and iOS. We learned also that flexibility always comes with an additional complexity and with some costs and trade-offs. So we faced a couple of challenges there. First of all, we were a young, advanced development team. We really wanted to get that work, and we got that to work. But complexity was fairly underestimated. So things got way harder in maintaining the system. So getting used to, you have for every single part, and fairly speaking, it was just the shop and the content, to get used to have every system separate was quite tricky. The hidden trade-off, you might know that if you have the ability to change everything, because everything is headless, it's composable, you can do whatever you want to, also comes with, you need to be mature enough to not build something custom. Because custom was at that time then more or less the default, because we thought, yeah, we can do that. We did it, it worked, but it got problematic along the way because we need to maintain it as well. Our development team grew over the time, so it got a bit easier to maintain it. But then we hit the next roadblock, it was the ecosystems challenges. Systems which we have built up at that time were also not that ready for that approach which we had. Also, the framework which we have built up was originally an open source framework. They decided that, actually it was an overnight decision, seemed like, to close some of the repos from having it open source to closed, paid version. At that stage, we said, no, we will maintain it. But by that, the imbalance of maintenance, innovation, grow and grow and grow. So we had to do something, and we decided we have to prepare a reset with all the learnings we gained so far. What we had done then, we took a step back before choosing any new technology. We started by analyzing processes, not the platform. We identified the bottlenecks and checked where there are scalability issues. So where processes stopped scaling, not only on the technical side, also on the business side. We focused on activities that did not create the business value, so loops, round trips, everything what was necessary, sending documents via mail to one person to the other because there was no workflow. So that was also on our list, and based on that, we built up then a new list of requirements. What means a future-safe architecture for us? Important there to mention, our teams also grow. The company grow a lot, so teams got more specialized. Not everyone was doing anymore everything. So every team got their special capability. So we wanted to support that. So we started a real composable. We started from thinking composable to building composable. We are here on SCD, so we squeezed everything into Shopware. So that worked not, no, we haven't done that. So that was a joke. We actually built it up on Shopware. So Shopware is now our e-commerce platform because we have the plugins, we have also the composable front end. That was a stack which we knew before. So we knew before a framework which iterates over the client and the backend. So that was well known. It was a different technology, but that was fine. We have reused our Contentful stack. Contentful has also done a large development over the years. So things which we have not been able to done in the first migration, we were able to do now. So we have took that chance and did that from scratch. We also gained a lot of expertise in that, content modeling process, etc. Important for us as we are selling products was obviously also a PIM system. So we choose to use Akeneo. That was one of the hardest parts in the entire process because we found out that a lot of departments are involved in the product enrichment process, even though they should not have been involved because the expertise lays also somewhere else. So we built it up with all the teams and product enrichment creation workflow, which every team brought in their expertise to make the best out of the workflow. Then in Magento, we also had gallery images, you know, the front shots of a product. Normally, we always created, I think, 8 pictures for every use case. For the cart item, for the slider item, for the list item, and for the gallery. We introduced then a DEM because we wanted to get rid of that. So we introduced Cloudinary as a DEM system to have better speed on the asset delivery and also to use the benefits of a CDN, transforming the images on the fly. So nowadays, for a front shot picture, we are creating one picture and it's used wherever we want to. We are just a little bit adjusting the transformation. Furthermore, we wanted to internationally grow. So we introduced a translation management system. Also preparing the workflows in order to get product information faster translated, also supported by AI. And last but not last, almost last, we also introduced an identity access management system with Keycloak. For us, it was important for the future growth also to be there independent, to have the chance to move over wherever we want to. So we have now one central place where we store all our access controls. As we are techies, we didn't want to connect everything on our own. So we integrated an integration layer, namely Celigo, in order to connect the services from the backend services all with each other so that we don't have to do that custom. And now you ask why Shopware? First of all, we are a German company. You saw that in the slides beforehand. We aim to produce from our products, creation, development, research, ingredients, etc., or ingredients research, towards the digital products. We want to do it on our own. Shopware is a European vendor, so it was the closest match for us. It was pretty good for us because the data residency is in Europe and the time zone is also easy to handle. The Symfony and plugin community is also quite rich on topics which we can just reuse. There are some hurdles which Jan will tell you later about that you cannot just pick everything and it flows. That is not working. But all over, it was the best fit for our requirements. No platform is perfect. None of the platforms you have seen there is perfect, but every platform has its good things, and Shopware was the closest match for us. And most importantly, we wanted to further build the muscle of our infrastructure. Our teams want to further develop that platform. And so we started the project kind of having the target of what we want to do. Our teams became more and more specialized. The platform, as you saw in Magento, still behaved like a monolith, and the new business requirements demanded much more flexibility than before. We needed to take the next evolutionary step. And how we did that, Jan will tell you.
Thanks a lot. So yes, we definitely needed the next evolutionary step, but unfortunately, we weren't able to perform that step fully on our own. And that's because we, yes, have kind of been of good in e-commerce purposes, but not really into shopware development or shopware at all. So it definitely was helpful for us to have some guidance in terms of conceptions, coachings, or implementation provided by an external agency. So, by the way, cheers to everyone from Basecom who is here today. So we already met a few of you, and it's always a pleasure. Over the time, the project shifted from a kind of agency-led delivery to a hand-in-hand development, because internally we built up expertise and took over more and more implementations to be finally able to kind of source out the agency by the end of 2025. And this process of starting together hand in hand with an agency and to phase them out on a later stage was always in the book since the very beginning of the project. So the key for achieving that wasn't just hiring good people. It was also about learning new techniques, building up clear responsibilities, and of course also a structured release planning. Talking about a structured release planning, let's have a closer look at the project timeline in general. It all started in December 2022 when the shop redevelopment project was kicked off internally. In April 23, we agreed on all the application environments, so on all the application infra, so we locked it in. And as Peter already stated before, we somehow needed to change the way our customers see our brand. So we needed to revamp our whole UI UX design. And this was done by June 2023. So at that point of time, we were totally ready to kick off the implementation phase. And we did so in July 23, and it took us extraordinary 23 months in total until March 2025. So as you might not be interested into all the details of nearly 2 years of development, I brought the most crucial pitfalls and also the most important learnings with me today. But before jumping right into that, let's first do a time warp to 2025, because that's where we actually went live with our Shopware 6 stack. So in May 2025, we celebrated our launch of our French sales channel. So French for Asam is not really a small market, but compared to our core markets like Germany, it's good for testing, let's phrase it like that. In June, only 2 weeks later, we also relaunched our mobile apps natively developed for Android and iOS, and also introduced the new UX to our mobile platforms initially. Only 1 month later, after the French go-live, we celebrated the launch of the Switzerland sales channel, which took place also in June, and this time we launched simultaneously with both app and web platform. After that, we took a few steps back and also took some learnings. But however, we got into trouble in terms of timing, because as a company, we need to pay special attention on events or public holidays like Black Friday or the Christmas season, because we're pretty much into running influencer campaigns, promotions, or selling advent calendars. However, we managed to find a tiny spot where it was still possible for us to launch with the most crucial sales channel we have, namely the German and the Austrian one, in September 2025. And what's also worth mentioning is, when taking a look at that whole timeline, during the whole implementation phase until the first go live with Shopware, we needed to maintain and fully support our Magento setup running in parallel. It became even worse after the first Shopware go live and before the last Shopware go live, because we needed to maintain both systems in parallel, as some of the sales channels were already running production on Shopware 6 stack, whereas our most crucial sales channel, the German one, was still running Magento till the very last second. So that definitely bound massive manpower during our implementation phase. During those 2 years of implementation, believe it or not, we have been pretty busy. So we needed to be even more secure in what we're doing. And I think that's the right time to talk about quality assurance. So from day one, we tried to build a comprehensive safety net of automated checks. Our goal always was to ship changes without fearing anything. That whole thing started with a solid block of static code analysis running on every merge request to catch issues before they even reach the review application or the stage system. And on top of that, we built up automated tests across our stack. So we built up functional tests, integration tests, and unit tests, always with a target of 100% coverage, not only on our happy path, meaning registration, checkout, product detail pages, etc., but 100% coverage. For regression and end-to-end testing, we ran another user acceptance test and also crowd testing because for us it was super beneficial to gain information of real users running real install experiences or scenarios on real devices. Load testing for us also was a big one because that actually surfaced a major caching issue we wouldn't have caught otherwise, and I'll jump right into that in just a minute. So the key takeaway is for us that wasn't kind of optional infrastructure. So that was a day one investment, and it actually was also the reason we could move way faster in the end without breaking things we were way before. But we also faced some technical hurdles. Let's jump right into it. And I brought 4 of them with me today. The first thing I want to talk about is the Shopware, or not the Shopware, but the API first promise or the API first approach. For the Shopware core, this indeed is an approach where it is not for example, other applications in our infrastructure or even third-party plugins from the community store. So they kind of mostly ignore the Shopware API in general and only pay attention to the classic Shopware storefront. So also, if we are not on tech stage here today, feel free to interpret that as a hint, as if you are a plugin developer. So please support the store API as well. What we then also discovered was that several read-only endpoints from the Shopware store API were of request method post instead of get, which basically broke all the standard HTTP caching methods you can think of. So we definitely also need to come up with a custom implementation on our end. Third is the headless integration of multiple applications to one single front end definitely had gaps. So data we expected to be present or to be present in a specific format was partly not there at all or fragmented over several endpoints. So we ended up in aggregating those data in the front end natively. The last topic is data migration. So at some point of time, slightly for the go live of the respective Shopware sales channels, we needed to shift the data from our old stack to the new one. But it wasn't only a shift of data from system A to system B, so from Magento 2 to Shopware 6, because our target infrastructure, where Shopware was part of, was way more fragmented compared to the initial one. And therefore, we couldn't really rely on the standard migration procedures like the Shopware migration tool, for example. And we also needed to build up custom migration logic there. And that's also the point I want to talk about next. So obviously we sometimes needed to perform implementations also aside from all that e-commerce related stuff, just to solve or just to find solutions for problems that came up during the development phase. And how could it be different? I also brought 4 of them with me. First thing I want to talk about is the Shopware composables framework. So when we introduced our project in 2023, the Shopware composable framework hasn't been really production ready for our use cases. So some features we expected to be there simply weren't, and also some other features were not really functional well. But that's also totally clear as we started using the version 0.14, so we can definitely be considered as being the alpha testers for Shopware composable framework. The next thing is the Shopware API cache in 6.5 was simply not present or pretty insufficient. So what did we do? We reached out to Shopware and asking them, how can we improve that? And they were like, yeah, that's a valid point. There is an improvement released in Shopware 6.7. And we were like, yeah, okay, that might not be a solution for us because we're pretty strict in timings. And an update definitely wasn't an option at that point of time. But luckily, we met Jonas Elvering from Shopware, and he made it possible to kind of backport the most relevant parts of the Shopware API cache introduced in 6.7 back to 6.5, so ready to use for us. Next thing, there is one funny saying in computer science, which is there are only two hard things in computer science. The first thing is naming conventions, and the second thing is cache invalidation. And oh boy, we faced massive issues in regards of cache invalidation because what we needed to do was aggregating multiple layers of different caches running from different applications in our infrastructure, and we definitely also had trouble to solve those issues in time. The last thing is the cart topic, and that's a good example for that some problems were not only identified before going live of a project. So right after kicking off our most crucial sales channel, the German one, we identified a massive load on our database. The reason, after some discovery for that issue, was that actually we persisted all cart transactions our users perform in all of our 4 sales channels to the MySQL database. And the recommended way, Shopware also recommends this in the documentation, is to store it in a dedicated Redis instance instead of the Shopware MySQL database. So that's also the solution we came up with. So we transferred all the cards from the MySQL database to the dedicated Redis instance. The only thing was we already went live. And yes, that definitely was some kind of a midnight action and comparable to surgery on the open heart. So we know that some of the things we did here weren't really glamorous, but every single of these workarounds had a legit choice. We documented that, and we also plan to kind of remove or replace those respective solutions when there is time or when the platforms catch up. And also to mention the elephant in the room, yes, on our roadmap, there's definitely also the middleware layer, which gives us better possibilities to aggregate or cache data even before it reaches the dedicated frontend. In general, this is software development in a nutshell. So yes, things go wrong, and those are only the most crucial pitfalls we came up with. So there happened a lot more during those past 3 years, but we unfortunately only had a 30-minute slot today. So let's jump right to our lessons learned. And we also learned a lot during the past 3 years. So the first thing we want to tell you is a re-platform is not only a tech shift, so it's also massive change management. Roles, responsibilities, and also release rhythms. Everything kind of moves with the stack you're about to introduce. And therefore, also the business logic needs to be adjusted or at least sharpened for each of the components you're introducing. And if you underestimate that, the technology stack you're about to introduce can be as great as possible. That won't save you at all. The second thing is pick specialized tools if they fit your requirements. And we picked a massive amount of solutions for our requirements. So don't try to bend the shop into being an identity provider or a content management system or something like that, because if you need those systems or dedicated tools definitely win on flexibility, and the earlier align those tools or the introduction of those tools to your stakeholders, for example, the cheaper the whole project stays in total. And last but not least, stay flexible and iterate, because pragmatic iteration, short loops, and real user feedback is what got us across the line in the end. And with that, I will pass it to Peter again.
Thank you very much, Jan. As you see, those 3 principles aren't Shopware specific. They apply to any major platform migration, and we have done a couple of them. But we are aiming always to all products which we are producing to have the quality we stand for. And I think this migration was also something where we learned a lot in order to increase our quality. And we are really looking forward to build up further on that platform and to showcase the quality we have, not only our products which we're selling via cosmetic and skincare, but also our digital products, our web shop, and also our mobile applications. We are celebrating this year 10th year, so keep an eye on our shop. We are around here if you want to meet us, challenge us, or we might be challenged by you. Looking forward to that conversations. And our slogan is "Du bist schön" in English. You're beautiful. Thanks a lot for your attention and have a good one.
Thanks a lot, Cologne. See you.